Hi everyone, Amy here with amyswares, and today I'm going to do a dude card batch using neutral colors. So I have 3 6x9 stencils. These are all part of the July release at A Colorful Life Designs. There are loads of amazing stencils and new card bling this month, so be sure to check it out. I have some various little mini ink pads from Catherine Pooler, and here is a photo of the finished cards. Now I'm going to show you how you can batch really easily cards that will work for guys or really anyone. It doesn't have to be overcomplicated. You just kind of pick a cool design that would work for anyone and maybe customize it to their favorite colors. So it doesn't have to be complicated. It can come together really quickly, and I'm going to show you how I did it. So I'm working directly on card bases for these 3 cards. These are US A2 size, 4¼ inches by 5½. This is a 120-pound accent opaque. So I'm just lining up this stencil where I want it on the composition. Now I'm only going to be using these 3 rows of the stencil. So I'm going to mask off the portions that I don't want so I can incorporate some color, just a little pop of color, but still mainly a neutral on this. Now I have With an Olive, which I think is kind of a cool, kind of retro-y looking color, and I'm going to pair it with a couple of grays. So the theme of this is also neutral colors. I want to encourage you to bust out those neutrals, and don't be afraid to use those in your cards. So maybe you have a little pop of color, or maybe you just stick with neutrals. Either way, it's kind of a fun variation to use your crafty stash, maybe in a little bit of a different way. So I have this 2-inch foam tape, or not foam tape, Post-it tape, and I'm just using that to mask off these rows. And again, like I said, I just kind of was mindful to line it up so it was straight, because I'm working right in a card base and I wanted the margins to be even on both the top and the bottom of the card. So I'm kind of going heavier handed in spots and lighter handed in others, but basically I'm using the lighter gray to start and doing that on the top and bottom, and then I'm going to come in with the darker gray. Now since I'm using the same blending brush, that's why I kind of did it in this rotation, because I didn't want to go light to dark, because then the light on the second portion would be too dark because I had already used the dark ink. I hope that makes sense. Either way, this stencil kind of reminds me of the phases of the moon, which I think is really cool, and I feel like this little variation in color, with the heavier handed and lighter handed and darker and lighter gray, I feel like it really gave those circles dimension. So now I'm moving on to the next card base, and I have this next stencil here, and I'm going to be using some browns in this composition. So I have my setup here. This is actually a 25-year-old cake decorating turntable, so I apologize, I won't have a link for that. It is Wilton brand if you can find something similar, but it's very, very old, so I apologize, I don't have a link. So here I'm using browns, again, heavier handed in spots, lighter handed in others, and doing a little bit of a variation between a lighter and a darker brown. So this is kind of a fun, whimsy design down the front of this card base. Very simple ink blending. As you can see, this is coming together super quickly. So I'm just coming in with the darker color on the top, and it'll kind of, create an eye path where your eye wants to follow the design from, dark to light or light to dark. But here I'm just figuring out if I want to do it kind of horizontal orientation or vertical. You just kind of pick and choose what works for you. So now I have this final stencil here. I'm going to create another composition. Same thing. This one's called Mid-Century Tower. I do think I used pixie spray on this one. I might show you that in a minute just to show you, because yeah, I did. This has some slats that will kind of move around on you. Sometimes I do pixie spray and my magnets. Sometimes I use that little turntable. It really just kind of depends on the stencil. And if you work with stencils as much as I do, you probably know what I'm talking about. Some of them, if they have, kind of short connection points, then you don't really need anything. You can just use a magnet. Sometimes if they are really, long slats or long openings or lines, that's when you really want to use pixie spray, because then those designs are going to move around on you when you ink blend, especially if you're rough like me and come at it like a lumberjack. But in this case, the combination of pixie spray and the magnets worked perfectly, and I'm coming in with this really dark, almost black, I think this is blackjack, just to kind of fill in the majority of this card front. Now you can see I did mask off a little portion in the lower right corner with some of that 2-inch post-it tape because I wanted to create a space where I could put my sentiment. So I wasn't sure if it was going to look quite right, but this was my thought process and kind of planning ahead a little bit more than I normally do, honestly, with regard to where I want to put the sentiment. So that looks pretty good. So I'm going to move on to the next step and kind of figure out with my sentiment binder here where I'm going to put what and what kind of cards I'm going to make. So this is my storage solution. I'm able to save loads of time with the system. This is just a 3-ring binder, and these are baseball card pocket protector sheets. If I remember, I'll try and link those below. I have a couple different variations, but these store a bunch of die cuts that are ready to go. So some are stamped and die cut, some are just die cut, some are done all in white, which you see I'm going to use here, and I'm going to show you why I do it all in white. And then, yeah, I just can kind of flip through and figure out, hey, this works for this design, this works for this design, and then I don't have to stop and, do some separate die cutting and slow down my process. I can really just save time and batch cards like this. So if you are kind of shorthanded on cards for dudes or cards that are really neutral and will work for anyone, then maybe consider a design like this. Just do a cool geometric design like these stencils. There's thousands in the shop, literally thousands. And they're so versatile because you can use them as a backdrop with a critter, or you can just use them in this setting and just batch a bunch of cards. So if you have a bunch of card bases ready, you just stencil a bunch, all different colors. Maybe you make a card set. Maybe you donate to your church or to nursing homes or something like that. But it's a really easy way to batch a bunch of cards. Now here I'm showing you why I do a lot in white. This is the shadow layer for the die that I chose to use for the sentiment. And now I'm able to custom color it to match perfectly with my card design. I have that same blackjack. I'm using the turntable again in this low tech Altenew matte just to hold down the background while I ink blend it. And then I have a perfect match for this card. Now this same thing, I'm going to do the with love, and I'm going to use the with an olive to color this so that, again, it's a perfect match for that card design. So this is a fun way to kind of custom color and match your cards perfectly. These are my storage solution for sentiment strips. The majority of these are all tailored expressions. The boxes themselves are also tailored expressions. It's like the most genius storage solution ever. There's not anything else like this on the market that I've seen. These hold all the simple strips from Tailored Expressions, and these are actually retired strips from Ellen Hudson, and it holds that too. So I will link those, telling you they're brilliant. I use them on almost every single card. It's one of my favorite things in my crafty stash. Now for another thing in my favorite crafty stash, I get so much joy pulling out these little boxes of crystal goodness. This is card bling. This is all from Colorful Life Designs. So many colors to choose from. I have so much fun every time I create cards, flipping through all these gorgeous colors. It's just so satisfying to me to figure out what ones I want to use for my cards. So I'm going to pick 3 different colors for these cards from my card bling. You can use my coupon on these too. So use my coupon AmyFan10 and save 10% on your complete order. Now, if you're lucky enough and you're interested in the new bling that comes out for that particular month, she has been doing, for the first week only, she has been doing where you can get the full bundle of the new colors of card bling at 20% off. Plus, you can use my coupon. So I will link all of that below. If you use my links, it really does help me out. It lets the owner know where the sales came from. Here's the finished cards. You can see the bling that I used just to kind of finish off the design and bring it all together. And now I have 3 dude cards ready to go. So thank you so much for spending time with me. Be sure to check out the rest of the July release. It is gorgeous. And the new card bling this month is just stellar. You don't want to miss it. So thanks for spending time with me. I'll catch you next time. Bye.